As a child, Emma loved stargazing. Her small town, far from the city lights, offered a perfect view of the night sky, with stars twinkling like diamonds scattered on black velvet. Every night, she would lay on her back in the grassy field behind her house, gazing up at the celestial wonders above. One night, as she was admiring the constellations, she noticed something peculiar. A new star, brighter than the rest, had appeared in the sky. Intrigued, she pointed it out to her parents, but they dismissed it as just another satellite. The following night, the star seemed to have moved. It was closer now, shining with an eerie intensity. Emma felt a strange chill as she watched it. It almost seemed to be watching her back. Over the next few nights, the star continued to move, growing larger and more defined. It wasn't long before Emma realized it wasn't a star at all. It was something else, something much closer and far more menacing. One evening, the object descended, hovering just above the treetops at the edge of the field. Emma's curiosity overpowered her fear, and she approached it cautiously. As she got closer, she could make out a shape, metallic, with strange markings that glowed faintly. Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from the object, enveloping Emma in a cold, paralyzing grip. She couldn't move, couldn't scream. Her mind raced with terror as she was slowly lifted off the ground, drawn toward the mysterious craft. In an instant, everything went dark. When Emma awoke, she found herself back in her room, tucked into bed as if nothing had happened. She tried to convince herself it was just a bad dream, but the lingering sense of dread told her otherwise. Every night after that, the stars seemed different. They no longer offered comfort and wonder. Instead, they filled her with an inexplicable fear. She could feel them watching her, waiting. Emma stopped going outside at night, but it didn't matter. The stars followed her in her dreams, their cold, distant gaze always fixed upon her. She knew they were out there, and they would never stop watching. Days turned into weeks, and Emma tried to move on with her life. But the unease never left her. She would catch glimpses of the bright object in the sky, even during the day, as if it were hiding behind the clouds, watching her every move. Her friends noticed her growing anxiety, but she couldn't bring herself to explain what was happening. Who would believe her? One night, she dreamt of the metallic craft again. This time, it was different. She was inside it, surrounded by strange symbols and eerie, pulsating lights. She could hear whispers in a language she didn't understand, echoing through the corridors. The whispers grew louder, forming a chant that resonated in her bones. When she woke up, her body ached, and a sharp pain throbbed in her right arm. She rolled up her sleeve to find a small, intricate symbol etched into her skin, glowing faintly. Panic set in as she scrubbed at it furiously, but the mark wouldn't fade. It was as if the craft had branded her, marking her as their own. Emma knew she had to do something. Desperate for answers, she ventured to the town's library, diving into books about astronomy, extraterrestrial phenomena, and ancient symbols. In a dusty old tome, she found a drawing that matched the mark on her arm. It was an ancient symbol, representing a gateway or portal to another world. The more she read, the more she realized that this wasn't just a random encounter. The object in the sky, the dreams, the symbol, they were all part of something much larger, something that had been planned for centuries. She stumbled upon a passage that spoke of a celestial event, an alignment of stars that would open the gateway and allow beings from another world to enter. The date of the alignment was only days away. As the night of the alignment approached, the object in the sky grew brighter and more menacing. Emma could feel its pull, a magnetic force drawing her to the field where it all began. She knew she had to face it, to confront whatever awaited her beyond the stars. On the night of the alignment, Emma stood in the field, heart pounding as the sky above her began to shift. The stars moved into a perfect line, and the air hummed with energy. The object descended once more, enveloping her in the same cold, paralyzing light. This time, she didn't resist. As she was lifted off the ground, she closed her eyes, surrendering to the unknown. When she opened them, she found herself in a vast, otherworldly landscape. The air was thick with a shimmering mist, and strange, luminous beings floated around her. They communicated without words, their thoughts blending with hers, revealing the truth. They were the Watchers, ancient guardians of the universe, and Emma had been chosen as their emissary. Her fear melted away, replaced by a profound understanding. She had been marked not as a prisoner, but as a bridge between worlds, a link between humanity and the Watchers. Her role was to protect the Earth from hidden dangers and to guide her people toward a future where they could coexist with the stars. As she returned to her world, the mark on her arm no longer felt like a curse but a symbol of her new purpose. The stars above, once a source of terror, now shone with a reassuring light. Emma knew she was no longer alone. She had the Watchers, and together, they would guard the night. Days turned into weeks, and Emma tried to balance her normal life with her new responsibilities. She could feel the Watchers' presence guiding her, their whispers blending into her thoughts, offering advice and warnings. She quickly learned to decipher their messages, each one a puzzle piece in the vast, cosmic game they were playing. One evening, as she was walking home, Emma noticed a change in the atmosphere. The stars were unusually bright, and a low hum filled the air. She could feel the Watchers urging her to hurry. She sprinted towards the field where it all began, knowing something significant was about to happen. When she arrived, she saw a shimmering portal opening in the sky. The ground beneath her feet vibrated, and a powerful force pulled at her. This time, she was not afraid. She understood that this was part of her mission. Stepping through the portal, she found herself in a vast chamber filled with intricate machinery and glowing symbols. The Watchers were there, their forms more defined than before. They communicated with her through visions, showing her a dark threat looming on the edge of the universe, a malevolent force that sought to consume everything in its path. Emma realized that the Watchers needed her help to prevent this catastrophe. They had chosen her not just as a guardian of Earth, but as a warrior in the cosmic battle against this ancient evil. She was to become a beacon of hope, rallying other chosen ones across the galaxies to stand against the impending doom. The Watchers granted her abilities beyond human comprehension. She could manipulate energy, see through illusions, and communicate with other beings across the stars. Armed with these powers, Emma returned to Earth, ready to recruit and train others like her. In her dreams, she saw faces of people scattered across the globe, each marked with a similar symbol. These were the ones she needed to find, the ones who would stand with her against the coming darkness. She traveled far and wide, guided by the Watchers, finding her counterparts and awakening their latent abilities. As they trained together, Emma and her new allies forged a bond stronger than anything she had ever known. They were a team, a family, united by their shared purpose and the ancient power flowing through their veins. One night, as they gathered under the stars, the Watchers appeared before them, revealing the final piece of the puzzle. The malevolent force, known as the Void, was approaching fast. The time for preparation was over. The battle was imminent. With the stars as their witnesses, Emma and her team faced the Void. The sky darkened as the evil entity emerged, its presence suffocating and cold. The ground shook, and the air crackled with tension. But Emma stood firm, her heart filled with courage and determination. She and her allies channeled the energy gifted by the Watchers, creating a shield of light that pushed back against the darkness. The battle raged on, the Void's attacks relentless, but they held their ground. In a final, desperate surge, Emma called upon all her strength and the collective power of her team. They unleashed a blinding wave of light, striking at the heart of the Void. The entity shrieked and writhed, its form dissolving into nothingness as the light faded. The stars above seemed to shine even brighter. The Watchers' voices filled the air, praising Emma and her allies for their bravery. The threat was vanquished, but their mission was far from over. Emma knew there would be other battles, other dangers lurking in the vastness of space. But she was no longer alone. With her team and the Watchers by her side, she was ready to face whatever the universe threw at them. From that night on, the stars were a symbol of hope and protection, a reminder that even in the darkest times, there was always a light to guide the way. Emma embraced her destiny, knowing she was a guardian of both Earth and the cosmos, forever watching over the world beneath the stars. Emma and her team returned to their lives, but they were forever changed. Each of them carried the weight of their new responsibilities, always vigilant for signs of the next threat. The Watchers continued to communicate with them, offering guidance and insights into the mysteries of the universe. One evening, as Emma sat under the stars, she received a message from the Watchers. It was a vision of a distant planet, shrouded in darkness. The inhabitants were suffering, their world on the brink of collapse. Emma felt a surge of empathy and determination. She knew what needed to be done. Gathering her team, they prepared for their next mission. Using the portal technology granted by the Watchers, they traveled to the distant planet. As they arrived, they were greeted by a desolate landscape and a sky filled with swirling clouds of ash and smoke. The planet's inhabitants, a race of beings with translucent skin and glowing eyes, approached them with a mix of fear and hope. Emma communicated with their leader, learning that their planet was being consumed by a force similar to the Void. The darkness was spreading, poisoning the land and driving the people to despair. The team knew they had to act quickly to save this world from destruction. Working together, they used their powers to stabilize the planet's core, cleansing it of the dark energy. Emma's team created a protective barrier around the most affected areas, giving the inhabitants time to heal and rebuild. The translucent beings watched in awe as their world slowly began to recover. During their time on the planet, Emma and her team formed strong bonds with its people. They shared stories, learned about each other's cultures, and found common ground despite their differences. Emma realized that their mission was not just about fighting darkness, but also about fostering connections and understanding across the universe. As they prepared to leave, the inhabitants presented Emma with a crystal, its surface shimmering with an inner light. It was a symbol of gratitude and a promise of alliance. Emma accepted it, knowing that their paths would cross again. Back on Earth, Emma and her team continued their work, but the experience on the distant planet had changed them. They understood that their mission was bigger than they had initially thought. It was about bringing light to places of darkness, offering hope to those in despair, and building a network of allies throughout the cosmos. One night, as Emma gazed at the stars, she felt a sense of peace and purpose. The sky was no longer a source of fear or mystery. It was a map of endless possibilities, a testament to the countless lives and worlds connected by the threads of fate. She knew there would be more challenges ahead, but with her team and the Watchers by her side, she was ready. They were the guardians of the universe, the bearers of light, and they would continue to fight for a future where all beings could live in harmony. Emma closed her eyes, feeling the presence of the Watchers around her. Their whispers filled her mind, a soothing melody that spoke of unity and strength. She smiled, knowing that she was never truly alone. The stars above were her allies, and together, they would face whatever the future held. Months passed, and Emma and her team grew more attuned to their powers and their purpose. They continued to travel to distant worlds, helping civilizations in need and forging alliances with beings from all corners of the galaxy. Each mission strengthened their bond and honed their abilities. One day, while Emma was meditating in the field behind her house, she received a particularly urgent vision from the Watchers. This time, the message was fragmented, chaotic, filled with images of war and devastation. The Watchers themselves seemed distressed, their normally serene presence tinged with fear. Emma called an emergency meeting with her team. As they gathered in their usual spot, the vision replayed in her mind. She shared it with them, projecting the images so they could all see. The scene was of a colossal battle in the heart of a distant galaxy, where an ancient, powerful entity was awakening. A being of unimaginable power and malevolence, known as the Oblivion King. The Watchers revealed that this entity had been imprisoned eons ago by their ancestors, but the seals that held it were weakening. The Oblivion King's release would spell disaster not just for one world, but for the entire universe. Emma and her team were the only ones capable of reinforcing the seals and stopping the Oblivion King from unleashing chaos. Determined and resolute, Emma and her team prepared for what would undoubtedly be their most challenging mission yet. They studied ancient texts provided by the Watchers, learning about the rituals and powers needed to combat such an entity. Every member of the team trained harder than ever, pushing their abilities to new limits. When the day of departure arrived, the Watchers opened a portal to the distant galaxy. As they stepped through, they were met with a scene of utter destruction. Stars were flickering out, planets were in ruins, and the void was filled with the echoes of suffering. They made their way to the ancient prison, a monolithic structure floating in the void. As they approached, they could feel the malevolent energy seeping through the cracks in the seals. The ground trembled, and a dark aura loomed over them. Inside the prison, they found the heart of the seals, a vast chamber with runes and symbols glowing faintly. At the center lay the Oblivion King, a monstrous figure bound by chains of light, its eyes burning with fury and hatred. Emma and her team quickly got to work, each member taking a position at one of the key points around the chamber. They channeled their energy into the seals, reciting the ancient incantations they had learned. The room filled with a brilliant light as their combined power surged through the runes, strengthening the bonds that held the Oblivion King. But the entity was not passive. It fought back, sending waves of dark energy crashing against them. The team struggled to maintain their focus, each of them battling the overwhelming force of the Oblivion Kings. While in the midst of the struggle, Emma felt the Watcher's presence more intensely than ever. They lent her their strength, their voices guiding her. She stood at the center of the chamber, the crystal given to her by the inhabitants of the distant planet clutched in her hand. It glowed brightly, amplifying her power. With a final, determined push, Emma and her team channeled their energy into a single, unified beam of light. It struck the Oblivion King, forcing the entity back into its slumber. The chains of light tightened, and the seals glowed with renewed strength. The battle was over. Exhausted but victorious, Emma and her team collapsed to the ground. The Watchers' voices were filled with relief and gratitude. They had done it. They had prevented a catastrophe that could have ended the universe. As they made their way back to Earth, Emma reflected on their journey. They had faced unimaginable dangers and grown stronger with each challenge. The universe was vast and filled with threats, but also with hope and allies. Emma knew that as long as they stood together, they could overcome anything. Back in the familiar field, under the watchful gaze of the stars, Emma and her team took a moment to rest and recover. They had earned it, but they also knew that their mission was far from over. The stars were still out there, and they would always be watching, ready to call upon their guardians when needed. Emma smiled, feeling the weight of her responsibilities, but also the joy of her purpose. She was a guardian of the universe, a protector of the light, and she was ready for whatever came next.